What is going on, Broncos country? These are three guys who you forgot were even on the 53-man roster. And, when we've been talking about the Broncos this whole offseason, I think a lot of people are forgetting that these dudes are on our team and could potentially take steps forward. And we'll see. We'll just see how everything shakes out. But yeah, so I just want to say a couple things. First of all, leave a like if you enjoy, subscribe if you're not already. My common question of the day is, what are you predicting our record to be next year? Are you predicting us to go 10-7? Are you predicting us to go 11-6? I'll have to literally go game by game and see what I think, because that's honestly how I do my record predictions. And I know we know our opponents, but I'll save that for when the schedule drops in May. Follow me on Twitter if you like what I have to say on here at Kodiak Broncos. Let's dive right into it. So, beginning with the running back room, Blake Watson is a guy who was really, really intriguing to me this past year, because honestly, we had a really shallow running back room. We had a really shallow running back room, but we were still relying on Javonte to, potentially be something. I know a lot of people were saying, like, oh, it's his second year removed from the ACL tear. Jaleel McLaughlin did look good in limited sample last year. And, we did use a fifth-round pick on Estime, but that was negligible capital. So basically, the cream is going to rise to the top. Isn't that the saying? Or cream rise to the crop in that room. And honestly, since it was one of the worst rooms in the league as far as like individual output and play, I was pretty surprised that we didn't see Blake Watson. So Blake Watson was a UDFA. I believe he was a converted wide receiver who turned into a running back. And in limited sample at Memphis, a lot of people were comparing him to Antonio Gibson, who looked pretty good his first 2 years in the NFL and had a similar arc to Blake Watson at Memphis. But regardless, so the Broncos, they basically said that they viewed him as a developmental running back coming into this year. And this guy was really intriguing because he could catch passes out of the backfield. And honestly, there's not really a whole lot of dudes on our team that offered that. Like, yes, Jaleel and Javonte are both capable pass catchers, but they don't have hands of stone or anything like that. But they're not elusive. They're not running complex routes. And what I will say about Blake Watson is I thought he looked pretty dang promising. I thought the moment he went onto the field against the Chargers, I thought he gave us something that we had not had in our running back room all year. Now, whether he didn't play because there was a lack of trust with him from the coaching staff, or whether he didn't play because, he didn't know his assignments, or, we can speculate a million reasons why he didn't play. But ultimately, I think it is because Sean Payton is so conservative with the way he deploys rookies, even skill position guys who, even you think about the running back position, like there's not much development to be had there. However you come into the NFL as a running back, that's basically the player you're going to be. And evaluating running backs is pretty dang easy. So with us being able to project that into his role, I was kind of surprised that the Broncos did not, deploy him, because they did not have a running back who could break tackles. They did not have a running back who could run actual routes out of the backfield. So I was like, you know what? Why not give this guy a chance? And to be completely honest, he's probably not a real needle mover if he couldn't get real playing time. I know that he got subbed in for the Chargers game because Jaleel McLaughlin had the quad injury, but I was still really, really impressed with what I saw from him on those limited snaps. I was actually pretty happy. I remember during the Chargers game, I was like, oh my God, we used Blake Watson on the first drive and we just went down the field, and, we haven't been able to run the football all year, and we just did it at will there. I was pretty excited about him. But once again, this is a guy who I just completely forgot was on the roster. Like, we will see what happens. He's probably going to get buried, to be completely honest, and he's going to be fighting for a spot on the Broncos or another team in the NFL. Hopefully they can bring him back on the practice squad, because he is a dude I like. But ultimately, between Jaleel, Estime, and Watson, I think only one of them will be kept, and the odds-on favorite is not Blake Watson right now. Going to the defensive side of the ball, this one's tough. This one's tough because I don't forget that he's on the roster, but he doesn't really factor into my long-term plans whenever I think about who the Broncos should target on the defensive side of the ball this offseason. So let me just say, with Drew Sanders, I never got the vision with him. I don't really understand why teams always go after these inside linebacker edge hybrids, and they're just like, yeah, he could play both, and, the versatility could confuse the defense. But listen, Drew Sanders, his best position was as an off-ball linebacker at Arkansas, and I don't really know why the Broncos are trying to convert him into something he's not. I don't know why they're trying to, rediscover something that he did not show at Alabama his first 2 years before he transferred to Arkansas. So, yeah, I don't know. They hampered on the versatility. So if Drew Sanders was like your green dot future replacement for, Josie Jewell or Alex Singleton, I could get the vision there, but they hampered on his versatility, and I never got this from the start. And I really wish he showed more in 2023. I really was not happy with like what he had shown this year, especially because we were a team with limited draft capital. And when you have fans saying that the vision doesn't make sense, then the vision probably doesn't make sense from the start. But I was really impressed with how he played on special teams. Like him, Mims, and Riley Moss were a big part of transforming our special teams from laughable to respectable. So I got to shout out those three guys who were willing to play special teams in that 2023 year. But yeah, so I believe George Payton actually said that they were going to move him to edge this past offseason, and then he ruptured his Achilles. So that is in part what led to the Jonah Ellis pick. But there are four guys in the edge room right now who I think have shown just flat out more than Drew Sanders has at this point. But what I will say is that this coaching staff clearly likes him, and it was indicated by the fact that even though he may not have been fully healthy, they still activated him for the playoff push. They still activated him for our most meaningful games that we were playing in since 2015, since 2016. So yeah, Drew Sanders was activated for the playoff push, so that doesn't mean nothing. But what what gives me hope for Drew Sanders is that we've seen so many guys develop leaps and bounds above what we thought they could be. I'm talking about guys like Riley Moss. I'm talking about guys like Nick Benito. I'm talking about guys like Zach Allen with this coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball. So it would not surprise me to see Drew Sanders have an impact. You know, I know we're probably going to bring in a guy either in free agency or the draft, but it would not shock me to see Drew Sanders be the partner right next to him and start week 1 in 2025 for our defense. Now, another thing that's really good about Sanders is that he sacked Herbert in a pivotal moment. I believe it was like the fourth quarter, and it was a crucial third down for the Chargers to get the ball back for us. And guess what? Sanders dropped him, and we didn't see him for the rest of the year. We didn't see him at all. Like, I don't remember seeing him on the defensive side of the ball at all. So that is encouraging. I'm not expecting him to be anything. I want him to be something just because I want the inside linebacker solution to be figured out. I would love nothing more for us to just have a stalwart in the middle of the field. But yeah, so Drew Sanders, the linebacker, off-ball linebacker, that is who I think. Another guy who is the only defense player on this list who you forgot exists, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is an impact player. So going to skill positions, A.T. Perry. I basically love the fact that the Broncos were able to snag him on waivers because he was a day 3 guy in the 2023 draft. And listening to like Saints beat writers, I know somebody who, I think it was Marquee Sports, really dug deep into this A.T. Perry thing. And honestly, he's how I thought about this. So shout out to you, Marquee. He basically was browsing like Saints beat writers, and he was like, why was this dude cut? And honestly, I think it's because Dennis Allen is a bit of an oddball, and he plays favorites, and he's willing to say weird things during press conferences. But yeah, it didn't really make a lot of sense as to why A.T. Perry was cut, especially with all the injuries that the Saints had to their wide receiver room this past year. But this is something that could be really exciting because A.T. Perry supposedly was running with the ones for a lot of practice this year. And maybe he just didn't know the playbook well enough because ultimately he was like 4 months behind, considering we got him pretty late in the year, added to our team. But a lot of people were saying that he was absolutely dusting the secondary. So that gives me a lot of hope. And our plan at wide receiver this offseason will be very telling on how we view A.T. Perry. I really want Sean Payton to say something about A.T. Perry right now because I want the hype train to leave the station. But something that's also nuts about A.T. Perry is that he has 12 career catches and 4 total touchdowns. So maybe if he's not ready for like the every down role next year, maybe he can play that role of like big-bodied red zone threat. And maybe what would be really, really good if A.T. Perry was to hit for the Denver Broncos, going forward is this would be our long-term succession plan at X. And obviously, Sean Payton loves his big-bodied wide receivers. A.T. Perry's 6'5", 225. So if A.T. Perry can develop, I would love for him to be our long-term succession plan at the X wide receiver spot because, the fact that you were able to get a position that vital and the fact that you didn't have to use that sort of capital on it, that would be absolutely fantastic. Do I expect him to be anything? No, because once again, he was a day 3 pick for a reason. He was a waiver claim for a reason, but yeah, I don't know. I'd be pretty excited to see if he became something. And, Sean Payton said that the Broncos are stronger at wide receiver than some think. So, yeah, maybe. And I know he didn't mention A.T. Perry in his, interview with Kay Adams. But, yeah, there you go. So, basically, that's just for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.